Alright lads, so today we got the announcement that the return of Burn the Witch is officially here. In this case, the Halloween, Christmas, Parasol, and also original Burn the Witch characters are all back in one banner. They're available tomorrow and will be able to be summoned on until the 19th. So the second this banner leaves is when we do get our mid-month banner. If we go ahead and scroll down right now, you can see that the banner itself does feature every Burn the Witch character. And you might be wondering, are these characters still worth summoning for? Now, for the most part, I would say it's a very easy skip, but at the same time, depending on the player you are, it might be a must summon. This is a banner that you should only really put on if you simply want the characters. From a meta standpoint, if you care about that, there are now replacements. You don't entirely need these characters per se, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't summon for them, right? After all, these are Burn the Witch characters, they are collaboration characters, they are rare. As a new player, you might be missing everyone in this banner, so doing a few steps wouldn't actually hurt you. I'm a big fan of Burn the Witch, and I pulled on all these banners when they were available, and I will pull for the next set of Burn the Witch characters whenever we do eventually get new ones. So I could see the reason why you might want to summon on this banner, and I don't entirely blame you. The characters themselves are still good, more so the Halloween and also Parasol characters, and they can be a lot of fun if you are fans of the characters. So I guess right from the get-go, only pull on this banner if you want them. You don't entirely need them, you can definitely afford to skip this banner, so really only pull if you are fans of said character. With that said though, let's talk about the characters. And first up, the first character to talk about is going to be Halloween Needy, a gauge character that really always wants to have the gauge active to get the most out of this unit. The reason for that is because when the gauge isn't active, her damage output is quite low. Actually very low, as she only has Frenzy +1, a 40% Berserker, and 20% more damage at full stamina. However, once the gauge is activated for those next 10 seconds, you will get an additional Frenzy, and also 100% more Berserker. So when the gauge is active, she actually hits very hard. She even gets a 50% SP boost too. So when playing with this character, you're going to notice her hitting very little, almost doing no damage, to then one-shotting enemies. Of course, to help fulfill that gauge, she also does have Gauge Rampage, so every time she does get a kill, it fills up the gauge even more. And then she also starts the quest with 70% of the gauge full. She's an overall good character. I personally don't like her gameplay, and it mainly comes to the fact that she does lack this one skill that reduces her cooldown of her strong attacks once the gauge does activate. I believe she's the only gauge character in the game to not have this skill, and it definitely does ruin her a tad bit in my opinion when compared to other gauge characters. I do believe she's the worst gauge character in the game, but even having said that, she is still a gauge character, and with that, it of course still has its benefits. She's a ranged mind hollow killer, and that, in my opinion, is actually quite good in Guild Quest content. She's honestly very good in that particular game mode. Of course, has been replaced with better characters like, for example, 9th Anniversary Grammy. And as far as mind hollow killers do go, you're better off using Yuha, but she definitely is good enough to be used in content. You kind of just have to get around that awkwardness at points where her damage output isn't going to be high when the gauge isn't activated. If you're a fan of Nini though, this character can be a lot of fun. I definitely enjoy using her when I do, but more often than not, I just have better other characters, alternatives to actually use instead. Likewise, for Noelle, she is a hard no affiliation with the Soul Reaper kill ability. Right now, it's one of the better leads in the current ongoing ranged Soul Reaper guild quests. She has a good strong attack kit with good survivability, and plays very similar to characters like Faosunji Blood or Yamamoto. With that, she has Frenzy +1, a 40% Berserker, and when you do inflict a status ailment, you get 80% Spiritual Pressure boost. Alongside that, she can apply both Weakening and also Drain, allowing her to do more damage and also heal herself back up to full stamina. Along with that though, once you do inflict those status ailments, you're then doing 80% more damage, 40% more damage to drained enemies, and then 50% more damage to weakened enemies. She's overall still usable, but her damage output definitely isn't living up to the new standard of characters. Even when she released, her damage output was quite lacking, mainly due to the fact that she does have Frenzy +1. Nowadays, the standard is Frenzy 2, 80% SP boost, increased chance, and even more damage multipliers. In her case, the thing you're going to dislike with this character when using them is just the damage output. It's not as high as it should be. She honestly should have released with Frenzy +2, and she honestly would have been a perfectly fine character. Like I mentioned, right now she has good usage in the ranged Soul Reaper guild quests, but she is eventually going to get replaced, and if you already have access to someone like 7th Anniversary Ichigo, well, he's an overall better character if you have him duped out. After that, we have Balgo and Osushi. In this case, quite the fun character, honestly, coming equipped with 2 killers, that being Quincy and also Human, and he is going to be your Super Linkso farmer. By using this character, you're getting 5 additional Super Linkso potions, 5 additional Linkso potions, and also 30% more droplets. With Frenzy +1, an 80% SP boost, and then an increased chance to inflict status ailments against any heart attribute enemy, it does still make him a pretty good farmer. While yes, there are now better farmers, more specifically Swimsuit Ninja, he honestly still holds up relatively well as far as farming characters do go, and he might have the benefit going forward into our future update where we will be getting a new quest, Link Shot Trials, where we should potentially be able to get droplets, Link Shot Potions, and Super Link Shot Potions all in one quest, and Balgo is increasing the drop rate for all 3 of them. Similarly to Noel, his damage output doesn't really hold up compared to new characters, but as far as farmers go, he honestly is still one of the better ones. Has good survivability thanks to his weakening and drain, and has a good enough kit to be used, especially in the upcoming Link Shot Trials. I wouldn't recommend using him in Guild Quest content, but as far as farmers do go, you definitely can get a usage out of him. Macy is definitely one of the better aging Burn the Witch characters, a character I still use to this day, and the reason for that is because she herself is a speed and no affiliation character with the no affiliation and also squad 0 kill ability, and then when it comes to damage output, she has almost everything you want. Frenzy +2, a 40% berserker, and then when you do inflict a stat element, you then get an 80% spiritual pressure boost. Her stat elements that she can inflict are both weakening and paralysis, which is a very powerful combination, letting you do 50% more damage to the enemies and also trapping them in place. Alongside that, she does have 2 extra skills, increasing her damage output even more, and she does have 40% more damage to weakened enemies, and then also 40% more damage to paralyzed enemies. So damage output, despite it releasing early last year, still holds up relatively well. Alongside that, she has weakened defense, so when you use your sub bomb, it allows you to do even more damage, and she's still the only speed character in the game to reduce speed character strong attack by 20% when you do move in between stages, and that's why right now a lot of people are using her in slot 3 of Limit Breaker quests. Always good whenever you can use a team of speed characters, because getting that recharge in between stages saves you a lot of time. Additionally, of course, it's worth mentioning she has a very good strong attack kit. Her SA2 and 3 are very powerful. SA1 definitely does leave a bit more to be desired, but I do believe this character has aged quite well. When compared to newer characters, the only thing she's lacking is an increased chance to inflict stat elements. And that can be quite annoying in Guild Quest content, but if your idea is just to clear and have fun with a pretty cool looking unit, this character honestly is still worth using. One of my favorite characters, and I would never say no for whenever I can take out Parasol Macy. Likewise with Bruno, another character that's aged quite well in my opinion. In this case, a heart no affiliation character with Hollow and also a Spada Killer. Similar to Nini, he is a gauged character, but he doesn't have the negative effect of not having good damage output when the gauge isn't active. And that's due to the fact the character base has Frenzy +2, a 40% berserker, but when the gauge does activate, he will then get a 50% spiritual pressure boost and also an extra 100% berserker. Alongside that, he's immune to every stat element. He starts the gauge with 70%, and when the gauge does activate, he will then reduce his strong attack cooldown by 30% and also heal himself by an additional 30%. An overall very good unit that has some good usability in the Melee Hollow and also Espada guild quests. Now, of course, when it comes to the Melee and Espada guild quest, he has now since been replaced. There are better characters. For Melee Hollow, you're better off using Yuha, and then for Melee Espada, you are better off using 9th Anniversary Kenpachi. But he is still a good unit that can be used in 2 types of guild quests, and overall, in my opinion, offers some fun gameplay. I feel like if there are 3 characters that age quite well, it's definitely Balgo, Bruno, and also Macy. They have technically been power crept with these new characters because there are better existing alternative options, but these are the 3, if you were summon the banner, are the 3 characters you want in my opinion. Nini and Noel, the Halloween versions, could have been better because they are the newest Burn the Witch characters, but their damage output is their biggest issue, especially for the timing of their release. They really should have been characters that hit harder than what they currently do, because that ultimately is their biggest problems when compared to characters like Bruno, Macy, and also Balgo. After that, we have some other Burn the Witch characters that, of course, are more so collector's items. They haven't aged as well because they are also significantly older. In this case, we do have the Christmas version of Noel, a speed no affiliation character with Hollow and also no affiliation kill ability. Her thing is that she is a super Link Shot farmer, so by using her, you are getting 5 additional power super Link Shot potions and 5 additional power Link Shot potions. She does have Frenzy +1, a 40% berserker, and an 80% spiritual pressure boost, so her damage output isn't too bad, but she really only wants to be used when she does have killer, in this case against Hollows and also no affiliation enemies, because that is when she does get her increased chance to inflict stat elements. Her strong attack kit isn't really the greatest, so I would really only ever use her when she does have killer. And I guess in that case, she can be a good farmer when against holos and also no affiliation enemies. The same can be said about Nini. She's a very similar character. In this case, a heart no affiliation unit with Soipa and also no affiliation kill abilities. Her damage output is very similar, where she has Frenzy +2, increases the Linkshot potions that you can get and also Super Linkshot potions by an additional 5. But she's also really a character you only want to play when she does have killer. In this case, against no affiliation and also Soipas, because that is when she does get her increased chance to inflict status augments. Other than that, though, her damage output is quite lacking because for the most part, she only has Frenzy +2. Bruno is quite the outdated character at this point, releasing after the 6th anniversary. He is a power no affiliation unit with Soipa and also Aranka killers. But this character only has Frenzy +1 and a 40% Berserker, so you really can't get much out of this unit. He does get better in Arena. He, after all, was an Arena character, because in Arena, he gets an extra Frenzy, and he has almost all the skills that you do want. Even years later in Arena, he still makes for a decent character. He's a tad bit slow since he does not have Long Stride, but he does have the defensive abilities, as he was given Last Ditch Survival and also dodge Soipa damage by 50%. More of an Arena unit, in my opinion. If you don't like Arena, you're not really going to enjoy using this character. The original Nini is a technical no affiliation unit with a Ronka and also no affiliation killer. Similar to Bruno, damage output is lacking here, only Frenzy 1 and a 60% Berserker. You really can't do much with this unit unless she does get resurrected in the future. Likewise for Noelle, a Mind no affiliation unit with Soipa and no affiliation killer. Damage output is higher as she was given Frenzy +1 and a 80% Berserker, but again for nowadays standards that's very low. Could get better when she does resurrect, but we have no idea when they are going to resurrect. And that's basically the banner in a nutshell. Like I mentioned, the 3 standouts are definitely the Parasol characters. Bruno and Macy are still great units. Bargo is still an overall good farmer, but there are better existing characters out there. And then Halloween, Nini, and Noelle are still good units overall, but nothing exceptional at this point in time. I feel like those 2 characters should have been better on release, because they would have aged better, as they are not even a year old yet, and I feel like they've already been replaced by many different units. Half the banner are quite old characters, but again, think of this banner more of a collector's banner. Pull for characters that you don't own, and characters that you more so want. If you care about meta, and only want to summon for the best of the best, this for the most part is a banner you can skip with very ease. When it comes to the banner format, it's going to be a normal banner, so step 1, 6, 11, 16, and 21 are discounted at 150 orbs, while step 2, 7, 12, 17, and 22 are discounted at 200 orbs, and then every 5th step, you are guaranteed a featured character, in this case a Burn the Witch character. Keep in mind, while the rates are 6%, there is the 1.5% chance to get an unfeatured character, so when you do see the 5-star light, you aren't guaranteed a Burn the Witch character, unless you are again doing that guaranteed step. I think if you're a new account and you want these characters and you're missing maybe the whole banner, yeah, do a few multis. I wouldn't recommend going too deep unless you are diehard Noelle and Needy fans, or just Burn the Witch fans in general. Which, again, I understand. I do the same thing every time these characters do come out, but I'm not really interested in pulling for old Burn the Witch characters, at least when they aren't with new Burn the Witch characters. There's no guarantee we ever get another Burn the Witch round, but if we ever do, these characters will become fillers. So if you're willing to wait that long for new Burn the Witch characters while also going for old ones, then you might want to wait, but if you don't, now's a good time to summon for some Burn the Witch exclusive characters. Let me know in the comments below if you are summoning on this banner. I'm curious to know, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, and peace.